In for Dee Dee Harper, who's on vacation this week. Our top story tonight, German Chancellor Gerhard Schoeder, in an exclusive interview with AFN News, has commented on the planned withdrawals and reorganization of U.S. forces in Germany. Gary Bautell reports from Berlin.
The American Academy in Berlin is located right here on the beautiful Wannsee in Berlin, and this is the site for this observation of the 10th anniversary of the end of the Allied occupation of Berlin. The guest speaker, Chancellor Gerhard Schoeder.
And now, for the first time in the tenure of Chancellor Schoeder, he has honored us with his presence. How fitting that you begin our second decade.
Jedenfalls here in Berlin.
Chancellor Schoeder told the audience the Academy has accomplished much in maintaining good German-American relations in the 10 years of its existence. The American Academy came into being at the initiative of then-Ambassador Richard Holbrooke. Concerned Germans and Americans feared that without the U.S. presence in Berlin, the younger generation would soon forget the role America played in keeping West Berlin free. The 10th anniversary of the departure of Allied troops from Berlin has special significance for Germany. It was the formal end of the Cold War. And with all foreign troops out of the city, Berlin could once again be the capital of a united Germany. But the U.S. military would stay in a Cold War posture in other areas of Europe. 3 years ago, a plan took shape to change all that.
We've consulted closely with our allies and with Congress. We've examined the challenges posed by today's threats and emerging threats. And so today I announce a new plan for deploying America's armed forces.
At the VFW convention, President Bush announced that 60,000 to 80,000 American troops would be leaving Europe within 10 years. In his exclusive interview with AFN News, Chancellor Schoeder told us what this means for his country. As you know, President Bush has recently announced the planned withdrawal of large numbers of troops out of Europe within a time period of 10 years. Probably involving both divisions that are stationed in Germany. What kind of effect is that going to have on your country?
Die amerikanischen Streitkräfte mussten umgruppiert werden.
The American forces must transform from a Cold War structure to a more flexible one, with new, lighter weaponry, even here in Europe.
Zu einer moderneren Form des Militärs, zu leichterer Bewaffnung, zu mehr Bewegung.
There will be an effect on the communities involved, but Germany will still have a large contingent of U.S. troops.
Truppenstandorte der Vereinigten Staaten von Amerika bleiben. Es werden einige sogar.
Some facilities will actually expand and others will close. But that's consistent with the reorganization, and we understand that.
Aber wir haben auch Verständnis für diese Notwendigkeiten.
A decade is not a long time in the course of history, but the 10 years since the end of the Allied occupation of Berlin have marked the end of the Cold War and the beginning of the War on Terror, and a whole new relationship between Germany and the United States. In Berlin, Gary Bautell, AFN News.
We'll have more from the Chancellor's interview, including his thoughts on the future of German-American relations later on this week. Meanwhile, hospital officials and witnesses in Iraq say now at least 16 people have been killed and 12 wounded in a U.S. attack on the Sunni insurgent stronghold of Fallujah. That story tops our look at the war on terror. The U.S. military says jets made a precision strike on a meeting of a group led by Jordanian-born terror suspect Abu Musab. No details were provided. A hospital official says an ambulance rushing toward the hospital from the blast area was hit by a shell, killing the driver, a paramedic, and 5 patients inside the vehicle. One explosion went off in a Fallujah marketplace as the first sellers had just begun setting up their stalls. Meanwhile, in the north-central region of
There.
Because they're here supporting the reconstruction program.
I love Iraq. I'm working here, securing this site, because I want to protect Iraq and make it a better place.
We're very pleased by that, and we look forward to their continuing support. And I think it sets the model example that we're looking for in terms of people supporting the reconstruction and supporting the interim government in terms of its desire to improve the economy for the people of Iraq.
Army Sergeant Sylvia Blackwood, AFN News, Baghdad.
Long before the Iraq War, nations have been fighting terrorism. Germany had a long and bloody confrontation with domestic terrorists, the Baader-Meinhof gang and the Red Army faction in the 1970s and 80s. In AFN's exclusive interview with German Chancellor Gerhard Schoeder, I asked if this experience has been useful in the current war on terrorism.
Nein, ich glaube nicht, weil das waren zwar verbrecherische Formen, aber...
No, I don't think so. It was criminal activity, but organized differently than Al-Qaeda is today. I don't think we can use our experience here. What we need to clearly do is take a stand against international terrorism. We must fight it with law enforcement and, when necessary and authorized, with military force.
Mit polizeilichen, wo nötig und legitimiert, auch mit militärischen Mitteln. Aber wir müssen vor allen Dingen in die finanziellen Ressourcen.
Most importantly, we have to dry up their financial resources. That's an important point, which the public has not fully recognized. If we do this, we'll be successful. In addition, we must mobilize large numbers of people to increase our help to the third world more than we have been.
Indem wir in der dritten Welt hilfreicher sind, als wir es bisher waren.
We'll continue our interview with Chancellor Gerhard Schoeder in tomorrow's newscast. 3 Americans accused of torturing Afghans in a private patrol. In Bakuba, 8 Iraqi policemen are dead after gunmen opened fire on a minibus. 12 people are hurt. And a video posted on a website allegedly shows the beheading of a kidnapped Turkish truck driver. Officials say that Abu Musab el-Sakawi is to blame for that. More news out of Baghdad in just a moment. But first, in an in-depth look at U.S.-German relations since the war in Iraq, this week we've been running elements of an exclusive interview with German Chancellor Gerhard Schoeder. We talked to him in Berlin during observances of the 10th anniversary of the withdrawal of Allied forces from Berlin. That event symbolized the end of the Cold War, and since that time, German-American relations have cooled and hit a low point when Schoeder's government came out in opposition to the American-led invasion of Iraq. I asked the Chancellor if we need a common enemy in order to remain friends.
Nein, das auf gar keinen Fall.
No, certainly not. We're good friends, not only in the political area, but in the economic and especially in civil society. There are a great many people who share this feeling. These are the people who form the core of what is called German-American friendship. In order to keep this friendship and build upon it, we don't need a common enemy.
We're observing another anniversary these days, the September 11th attack on America. And I know Germany is very active in the Balkans, active in Afghanistan. But is there the possibility that Germany may eventually send soldiers to Iraq if it were under NATO leadership?
Nein, wir haben entschieden, dass
No, we have decided that we will not send troops to Iraq. You're correct to note that we have 4,000 soldiers in the Balkans and 2,000 in Afghanistan. We are meeting our international obligations. There has to be a division of labor here. In addition, we're training police and Iraqi soldiers in the United Arab Emirates. But we have decided that we will not send any German soldiers to Iraq, and we stand on that.
We'll continue our interview with German Chancellor Gerhard Schoeder tomorrow night, right here on the AFN Evening News. In Baghdad, U.S. and Iraqi troops worked together